People are coming together at events and activities around the world, across all regions and across all time zones, to support the Age with Rights campaign and call for a UN Convention on the Rights of Older People. We hope and we are sure that governments are alongside us in listening and taking action. Around 30 events or more are already listed on the Global Rally webpage, and more continue to be added all of the time. Join this global rally and have your own events. Older people and advocates for human rights in older age are taking action in solidarity from Australia and New Zealand through to India and the Philippines, Rwanda, Cameroon, United Kingdom, Germany, Uruguay and Costa Rica, just to name very few. The type of activities range from roundtable discussions, Twitter conversations, awareness raising sessions, marching with banners, and of course, dancing, celebrating the resilience and courage and the rights of older people. The issues being covered include dementia, ageism, the right to work and participation, widowhood, as well as intersecting discrimination with links made to the International Women's Day next week, for example. At this summit, we want to celebrate these global campaign efforts. We will hear from some of the activists involved, benefit from the unique perspective of the UN independent expert, and welcome two ambassadors representing governments who are playing a key part in the international discussions at the UN on older people's rights. Before I introduce the first speaker, just a few housekeeping. The interpretation is on the bottom of the screen and is available in English and Spanish, and closed captioning is also enabled. This event is being recorded and live streamed on the IFA's Facebook page. I will introduce the questions one by one, and then this will be followed by question and answer. Please use the question and answer feature at the bottom of the page, type in your question, and I will ask speakers on your behalf. We encourage you to identify yourselves and your respective organisations and also include it in the Zoom. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Agueda Restaino, representative of REDEM, the Uruguayan National Network of Older People's Organisations, and she will be talking about her personal experience as an older person, the Inter-American Convention, and the urgent need for a global convention on older people's rights. The floor is yours, Agueda.
Bueno, muy buenos días. Agradezco la invitación de Garot y todo el equipo para esta jornada. Si bien me voy a basar en la importancia que tiene una convención mundial de la ONU para las personas mayores, desde mi rol de persona vieja, quiero empezar historiando algunos puntos claves en el proceso de envejecimiento que he vivido. Cuando en 1982 se celebra en Viena la primera Asamblea Mundial sobre Envejecimiento, se coloca el tema de la vejez en la agenda política bajo un enfoque biológico. Las Naciones Unidas en 1991 aconsejan tomar algunos principios que son independencia, participación, cuidados, autorrealización y dignidad para ser incorporados en el plan de acción. Es así que la Segunda Asamblea Mundial Madrid 2002 se incorporan, se hace una declaración política y un plan de acción internacional sobre envejecimiento. A partir de este instrumento es cuando pierde fuerza el enfoque deficitario y surge como eje la dignidad en la vejez. Este plan fue un avance y a nivel regional, a través de diversos encuentros y declaraciones como Brasilia, Carta de San José y Pacaraí, comienzan las organizaciones con distintas estrategias para poner el tema de derechos humanos de las personas mayores en la agenda pública. En el 2015, en la OEA, se aprueba la Convención Interamericana de Protección de los Derechos Humanos de las Personas Mayores, siendo Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Brasil y Costa Rica los primeros países firmantes. Al día de hoy, 8 países han firmado y ratificado la convención, teniendo también la voz de la sociedad civil organizada. La convención es un instrumento jurídicamente vinculante que unifica todas las normativas y los estados están obligados al cumplimiento y protección de los mismos. Es un cambio de paradigma ubicándonos como sujetos de derechos. En el artículo 8 dice: la persona mayor tiene derecho a la participación activa, productiva, plena y efectiva dentro de la familia, comunidad y sociedad para su integración en todos ellos. Los estados parte adoptarán medidas para que la persona mayor tenga la posibilidad de participar, por ende, a ser escuchado. En los últimos 2 años se nos ha tomado nuevamente con un enfoque biológico y asistencialista como población vulnerable, sin permitirnos decir qué queremos, vulnerando nuestros derechos de no poder decidir por nosotros. Acá me centro en nombre de las personas mayores de Uruguay y América, me sumo a la campaña mundial pidiendo a las autoridades de la ONU que en su próxima asamblea aprueben una convención a nivel mundial de protección y reconocimiento de los derechos humanos de las personas mayores, donde a través de la participación política y social de las personas mayores en todos los países y sus gobiernos incluyen y respeten el tema de las personas mayores y que sea una sociedad para todas las edades, tomando como ciclo de vida. En estos días he vivido esta experiencia hermosa de mi participación en la campaña. Nos pusimos el tema al hombro y lo sacamos adelante. Esto sirve para inspirar a los demás la importancia de participar, aporta nuevas y buenas experiencias. Seguiremos hasta lograr un cambio de paradigma centrado en la persona. Por eso decimos con fuerza, envejecer con derecho. Muchas gracias.
And thank you very much, Agita. You know, that was a heartfelt, but also the power of the older person's voice, you know, permeates through this global rally. And we thank you for being with us today. I'd like to now move on to our next speaker, Elijah Mwegra, founder and CEO of the Kenyan Aged People, KARICA, Required Information, Knowledge and Advancement. Now, Elijah, I'm going to ask you, what positive difference would a UN Convention on the Rights of Older People make to your everyday life? And what work are you involved with to make this happen through KARICA? And I must just amend what KARICA stands for. It's the Kenyan Aged People Require Information, Knowledge and Advancement. So the floor is yours, Elijah.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am working for KARICA, as you have said it very well. And what the UN Convention can do for us, if it is passed, is that it would guide the governments on development of programs that can protect the rights of older persons and entitlements. That is very, very key to us. Number 2, improve accountability, reporting mechanisms, encouraging the correction of information, and help government to allocate resources more fairly to older persons in the country. It would also encourage, provide basis for policy making and programming for public education and creating awareness. Number 4, it would provide redress systems against violation of all older persons' rights and eliminate all forms of abuse. Number 5, it can also allow other non-state actors to dialogue with the UN on the implementation of the Convention of the Rights of Older Persons. Number 6, it also allows domestication of issues of older persons in every country. As it is today in our country, we are not able to hold the government accountable. As a result, much of older persons' issues are dependent on political goodwill, which is not very good. For example, early last year, in our neighborhood, we found an older person who was beaten and left halfway dead on the roadside. We thought we can help save the life of this older man by taking him to hospital, and even later, maybe to an older people home. As usual, we went to report the case to the police station, where I met the officer in charge. I wanted him to give us a document to allow us carry this man to the hospital. Actually, at my own cost. But the OCS told me that if it were a child abuse case, he could have referred me to a court. But for this particular case of an older person, there is no legal framework that could guide him on writing such a letter. I was so disappointed and embarrassed. At Karika, we are committed to inform, educate, promote policies and practices that improve the quality of life of older persons. It is our belief that older people gave us life, and it is now our time to give them the quality of life they deserve. That is why we are asking the United Nations to fulfill the UN Convention on the Rights of Older People today. We want to age with right. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Elijah. You know, what struck me with the example that you gave is that there are probably many tens of thousands, if not millions of older people, you know, through abuse and neglect, you know, their rights have not been protected or respected. And what's more, you know, the rights within a nation are not there. You know, the laws are not there. So we indeed need, you know, a UN Convention on the Rights of Older People. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, Elijah. I now move on to our third speaker, Grace Poor, Regional Program Coordinator for Asia and Pacific Islands from Outright Action International. Grace, I want you to share with the audience of several hundred around the world in this Global Rally Summit some of the plans that are being used. You know, what are your plans in celebrating activism on older persons' rights that Outright is engaging in at the UN as well as in Asia?
Thank you, Jane. I'd like to start off by saying that age discrimination does not affect all older people in the same way. And I'd like to set a context a little bit before talking about what Outright is doing both in Asia as well as at the UN regarding the rights of older people and the convention. Specifically, I want to talk about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex older people and their experience of human rights violations. Now, Many LGBTI people have been discriminated since adolescence. Being an older person has increased vulnerabilities. For instance, LGBTI older people cannot access residential shelters for senior citizens. And even if they do, many of them go back into the closet to avoid negative attention by shelter workers or other shelter residents. Many LGBTI older people are hesitant to seek medical care to avoid homophobic and transphobic responses from healthcare personnel, which prevents early diagnosis of health problems and timely interventions. LGBTI older people report having difficulties getting senior citizen benefits because their legal documents are not recognized and accepted. Like so many other vulnerable groups, LGBTI seniors are struggling with the impacts of the COVID pandemic, including loss of employment, reduced and lost income, housing instability, no access to critical medications, reduced mobility, isolation, depression. In addition, LGBTI older adults are facing threats because of their marital status and their family status. They live with increased violence from homophobic and transphobic family members who they are forced to move in with because of the pandemic. So duty of care by family does not offer safety and dignity for many LGBTI older people. Old age discrimination experienced by LGBTI people is often further compounded by other kinds of discrimination because of ethnicity, race, migrant status, economic status, class, caste, religion. The intersectionality of discrimination that old people grapple with must be recognized, named, and addressed in order to promote social inclusion, social protection, access to justice, safety, and equity for elders who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersex, and gender diverse. You talk about my work at the Outright Action International. My work specifically focuses on LGBTI human rights in Asia. We have begun collecting disaggregated data on LGBTI older persons in 2 countries in Asia, Nepal and the Philippines. LGBT organizations in these partner countries have formed LGBTI elder advisory groups. They will be training LGBTI older people to become spokespeople on elder issues. They are sensitizing and mobilizing younger LGBTI activists to join with LGBTI seniors to push for anti-discrimination and elder abuse protections. They will educate government allies and national mainstream senior citizen NGOs to support law and policy reforms for LGBTI elder protections. And just the last thing that I want to say, Outright and project partner SAGE USA will facilitate the engagement of LGBTI older activists from the Philippines and Nepal in regional and international spaces to bring visibility to the multidimensional and complex struggles of LGBTI older people. As the other speakers on the panel have said, it is vital that we have a convention on the rights of older persons. But I want to say that a convention on the rights of, a UN convention on the rights of older persons must include older people in all their diversity, enshrine inclusive protections for ageism, age discrimination, and elder abuse, and recommend policies and actions that are intersectional in their approaches to address the inequities of older people. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Grace. Grace, you touched on, the importance of diversity and the importance of inclusion and across sectors and across disciplines. And I think with each of our speakers today, Agida, Elijah, and Grace, they represent thousands, if not millions, of older people around the world, whose rights may not be protected and respected. Just because mine are, it doesn't mean that the next person beside me is. We are unique in our framework and our DNA. And so it's vitally important, that we stand alongside those older people and their families, and we advocate in countries who do not have the rights protected and respected and do not have the laws. That's why this is a global campaign and rally. So thank you very much, Grace. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Ambassador Manalo, permanent representative, and I will start again because my phone goes off because it tells me when a speaker is up to their 5 minutes. And I'm so delighted because the first 3 speakers actually did their presentation within the 5 minutes. So my apologies. This is just the world that we live in at the moment, unpredictability. So let me start again. It is my great pleasure to introduce Ambassador Manalo, permanent representative of the Republic of Philippines to the United Nations. So in the midst of this, in the world today, you know, rights is fundamental to every human being, regardless of age. And we want to hear from you about the plans and desired outcomes for the 12th open-ended working session. And we also understand that both you, Ambassador, and Ambassador Pippin, you know, may need to leave us early to go and speak at the Human Rights Council. So, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll try to keep within the 5-minute allowance. Anyway, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, let me thank the Global Alliance for the Rights of Older People, as well as Soroptimist International and other organizers for inviting me to address today's Global Summit rally. The promotion, protection, and respect for the rights of older persons is a priority of the Philippine government. We have seen how devastating the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic was on older persons. While the virus affected people of all ages, older persons were disproportionately affected and were most at risk of mortality and severe disease. We are concerned not only with the effect of the pandemic on older persons, but also the rise of age of discrimination and stigmatization of older persons. The lockdowns imposed to stem the spread of COVID-19 have led to the reported rise of violence against older persons, as well as restricting their access to justice, to health facilities, as well as employment opportunities. Our experiences during the pandemic should impress upon us the need for international and intergenerational solidarity with the inclusion and participation of older persons who have been most affected by the crisis. In recovering from the pandemic, we have to ensure that policies and programs are inclusive of the needs of older persons and help them realize the right to the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. Even prior to the pandemic, the Philippines was calling for a multilateral, legally binding instrument on the rights of older persons. And it's our view that we owe it to the most deserving members of our society, the elderly, who have spent their lives building our communities and contributing their time, talents, and resources for improving the lives of succeeding generations. In the Philippines, we have a Senior Citizens Act, which established the Office for Senior Citizens Affairs at the local government level in order to implement, plan, and monitor work programs for the elderly. The same law gives a 20% discount to all persons, older persons, in all restaurants, transport services, hotels, and similar lodging establishments, as well as recreational centers, and the purchase of medicines anywhere in the country. The Department of Health provides access to health facilities in line with legislation that provides universal health insurance for older persons. We also have a bridging program for the Filipino family, which is a conditional cash transfer program for poverty alleviation. Our response to the pandemic also takes into account the specific needs of older persons, especially with regard to their access to healthcare and vaccinations. In the UN, the Philippines is working with like-minded countries in promoting the older persons agenda at the open-ended working group on aging, as well as in other frameworks, especially the Secretary General's Our Common Agenda. We aim to raise awareness of older persons' rights by proposing references to older persons in UN resolutions. The coming session of the open-ended working group, we will focus on the contribution of older persons to sustainable development and on economic security. I invite all of you here today to follow our discussions and to engage and share your views, especially on having a legally binding instrument for promoting and protecting the rights of older persons. We all agree that older persons make substantial contributions to sustainable development, including through their experience and action and participation in society. So it's only proper that older persons are empowered and allowed to continue effectively contributing as rights holders and active independent agents and beneficiaries of change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you for your leadership within your country. You know, I hear the many laws and programs and practices that support older people, but most importantly, you know, you're working to create an environment that enables older people to do what they have reason to value. So thank you very much for your leadership within country, but also at the United Nations and particularly the Open-Ended Working Group. We count on you and other member states to move forward, you know, with drafting of this important convention. Thank you very much, sir. We now move to our next speaker, Ambassador Pippin, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Slovenia to the United Nations Office in Geneva. Ambassador Pippin, could you share some of the recent and very important developments from Geneva, including the resolution on older people's human rights? The floor is yours, Madame.
Thank you very much, Jane. Excellencies, Madam Independent Expert, colleagues, dear friends of older persons. Let me first thank the Global Alliance for the Rights of Older Persons and the International Federation on Aging for the invitation. It is good to be part of the Global Rally Summit. I want to, I cannot not use this opportunity to start by speaking up against the war in Ukraine and express solidarity with people of Ukraine. Their human rights are violated as we speak. This includes the rights of older persons. And over more, the pains of older persons are amplified in Ukraine as we speak. I can also say that my country, as it was the case for Ambassador Manolo, is a strong advocate when it comes to aging and rights of older persons. And in New York, our diplomats have been serving in the Bureau of the Open-Ended Working Group, and we are also part of the New York Group of Friends of Older Persons. Here in Geneva, Slovenia is co-chairing the Group of Friends of Rights of Older Persons, and I'm sharing this role with the Ambassador of Argentina, who is currently also the president of the Human Rights Council, Ambassador Villegas. Our group is trying to be as supportive to the cause as possible. We are organizing events. Just last week, we organized an event with the High Commissioner for the Human Rights, Bachelet, and we are speaking loud and clear about the rights of older persons at the official events of the Human Rights Council, and trying as much as we can do to support the mandate of the independent expert, Dr. Mahler. Claudia, it is great to see you again. As the group of friends, we are still scaling up our efforts. One of the things that we would like to increase is mainstreaming rights of older persons into the Human Rights Council's Universal Periodic Review. I would like to use this opportunity to reach out to the NGOs that might have turned out for today, for today's event, and ask you for your partnership. It would be of tremendous value if we could hear, especially those who are working on the ground in the countries that are being reviewed each time ahead of the Universal Periodic Review. We are starting new cycle in the fall, and it would be great if we could set up some kind of a collaborative process ahead of the next UPR cycle. Turning now to the resolution that we have tabled last year at the Human Rights Council on the rights of older persons. This was done together with Argentina and Brazil, our closest partners here in Geneva. The resolution was the first ever substantive resolution on the rights of older persons. And it was adopted on October 2021, 7th October, adopted by consensus. The resolution reaffirms the obligation of all states to respect, protect, and fulfill the human rights of older people. It identifies challenges in ensuring respect for the rights of older persons, as well as the group particularly exposed to these challenges. The resolution also links the phenomena, the resolution also links discrimination to the phenomenon of ageism. Resolution defines ageism and recognizes age-based discrimination as serious challenges. The resolution also requests the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights to prepare a report on the normative standards and obligations under international law in relation to the promotion and protection of human rights of older persons. The report is to be submitted to the Human Rights Council at its 49th session in March this year. Furthermore, the resolution also asks the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to convene a multi-stakeholders meeting, including older persons, to discuss the report and present the conclusions of the meeting to the Human Rights Council's 51st session in September 2021. We certainly hope that the report of the High Commissioner will find its way also to the next upcoming session of the open-ended group, working group in New York. Coming back to Geneva, our work on rights of older persons is far from over. We will continue working with Argentina and Brazil on identifying challenges that should be tackled with the Human Rights Council resolutions in the future. And we will also work on mainstreaming the issue of the rights of older persons in different intergovernmental fora here in Geneva and elsewhere. I thank you very much for your attention.
And thank you very much, Ambassador Pippin. I think what you've really explained in such a short period of time is that there are concrete actions happening, and the importance of a multi-stakeholder approach, including and civil society being central to those actions. And without civil society and the many thousands that are involved in this global summit today, you know, our voices will not be heard consistently with sustained effort. I do also hope that the report from the High Commissioner not only will find its way, it will land on the table, you know, in the open-ended working group, because that's very clearly what we need to do, which is actually make connections between Geneva and New York to actually forge an alliance, you know, to deliver on a convention. And I go back to Elijah's comment, if a convention happens. I think we actually all have to agree that it's not if and it's not when, it's now. So thank you very much, Ambassador. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our last speaker, Dr. Claudia Mailer. And Claudia is known to all of us because of her work as the UN independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older people. Claudia, you are so accessible to civil society. You know, you give, and you give. And once again, you're here today in this important meeting. So, Claudia, Dr. Mailer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jane, for the warm welcome. And as you can acknowledge as I can acknowledge right now, it is my job to be accessible because I'm part of the system and I'm one of the voices who could speak for all the persons in the system. So thank you once again for the invitation. Dear Excellencies, colleagues and friends, it's always a pleasure to work with you. And let me start with once again thanking the organizers for the initiative and for this global rally. I think it's also time for a global rally to show quite clearly that we are no longer overheard. We need to hear the voices of all the persons, and I think it was perfect to hear the voices of all the persons at the beginning and not in the end. And it's exactly what we need to do. Listen to older persons because they are the experts. They know quite clearly where the gaps are, where stronger support is needed. And we all know that the demographic change is a reality, which is visible in all the regions. Maybe I just add one thing, that globally there are 7 to 7 million persons aged 65 years or over in 2020. In 2050, the number of older persons worldwide is expected to more than double, reaching over 1.5 billion people, representing 60% of the global population. And the fastest aging population will be in the global south. So I think we all can agree it cannot be tolerated that this big part of the global population cannot fully enjoy their human rights. As you all know, we are now more than discussing the human rights of older persons, more than a decade, discussing these human rights of older persons in the General Assembly, the open-ended working group of aging. Many of us think it's now really time for action. We know that there are gaps. We identified the possible gaps. We know how to close them. And we know quite clearly that the best protection for older persons is a specific binding international instrument. So let's start. We had progress in the working group. The progress was identifying gaps and discussing all the different topics. The open-ended working group moved to more concrete discussion on normative elements for a future instrument on older persons. So I would say the governments who attend the open-ended working group have an outline what is part of a future convention. There are still concerns, however, because there is a lack on the consensus of the way forward. And there is a kind of a disconnection between New York and Geneva. But allow me to also once again thank the ambassadors who are here today with us, because they are also part to link New York and Geneva. And it's also part of my mandate to speak in New York at the General Assembly and at the open-ended working group, and to speak in Geneva at the Human Rights Council. So there is also a kind of implicit link in my mandate. Without further ado, I would also like to say once again, please join the open-ended working group on aging. It is our fora to discuss the human rights of older persons. And I know that we have seen that many discussions do not focus on rights, but civil society, national human rights institutions, and many United Nations agencies are still coming back to the human rights focus. And I also realized that many of governments changed their narrative slightly. But as Jane already said, it is now. We need to really fight once again to be recognized. Older persons need really to be a priority at the Human Rights Council and in New York in the discussions and at the national level. Because if older persons are not a priority, there will be always something different. And we also have seen that during the COVID pandemic, the human rights protection system was a big failure. We saw the spotlight, there was evidence. It was crucial to overcome the lethargy. Right now, we need the motion for action, which means from my point of view, to start working on the content of a dedicated international binding instrument to ensure that all older persons can enjoy their human rights. I think I'll leave it here so we have much more time for discussion. And as I said before, we do have the normative content. We already have identified the gaps. We have extensive documentation about the gaps. And from my perspective, there is enough material to start and prepare the normative content for a specific binding human rights instrument. And I know quite clearly that civil society organizations, NHRIs, older persons are ready to get started in this regard. What we need is more leadership from governments to get started in this position. I would say from my side, I only can thank you all for attending this session, for attending all the different seminars, conferences around the world to raise awareness on the national level, on the regional level, and on the international level. Sorry, that we are really looking forward to a substantive discussion in the open-ended working group, and we want to see a way forward. Thank you so much for your attention.
And thank you very much, Claudia, for those inspiring words, but also, you know, to indicate, yes, I know it's your job, but you are much more than your job when you come to the table and, you know, with the reports that you've written and the passion in which you actually create the conversation for change. So thank you very much. I'd like to now move on to some questions and move through them as quickly as we can. Please insert your question in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And the first question I'd like to direct to Ambassador Manalo. Ambassador, a question from Grace Poor, but also Ina Volker from Bagso. And the question is, I wonder if you could let us know what the Bureau of the Open-Ended Working Group is doing in New York to ensure concrete outcomes from the 12th session, especially when it comes to including older people in all of their diversity. Ambassador, are you able to respond to that question? And the ambassador has had to leave us. That's unfortunate. So, Claudia, could you give some sense about, you know, the concrete actions that you would like to see coming out of the Open-Ended Working Group? But please, if it's a sensitive question, you can actually put it in the table. So let me know.
As you can imagine, I always want to see more than really happens. But maybe one thing first, as you all mentioned the report of the High Commissioner, I would be happy if we can really discuss the report of the High Commissioner at the Open-Ended Working Group, because it really spells out the gaps, how we can close them, and what the difference a convention would make for all the persons and the human rights framework. So if we would have this kind of discussion, I would already be very happy, because then we might agree in the Open-Ended Working Group that we need to close this kind of gaps, and we can think about a roadmap, just a way forward.
Okay, thank you very much. That report from the High Commissioner is extremely important. So thank you. A question from Margaret Gillis, and we know Margaret through her leadership, not only in Canada, but around the world. So Margaret's question is to Grace. Grace, how can civil society organisations working on ageing support the LGBTQ community in our home countries and internationally while we fight for a convention on the rights of older persons? Grace, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. I think there are so many different ways in which elder rights advocates can work with LGBTI rights advocates in their home countries. There are so many opportunities. For example, Age with Rights campaign can be done with LGBTI activists. 16 days of activism on violence against women, that can be an opportunity where LGBTI older people's issues are raised. I think there are opportunities to not only work on activities or campaigns together, but seriously talk about how LGBTI people and older people's issues need to be brought together, rather than looking at us as silos, rather than separating older people and LGBTI people as two different vulnerable groups, because LGBTI older people are older people and they are also LGBTI people. And there are multiple areas in which there are overlaps. Thank you.
Yeah, look, you're so right, Grace. You know, in a earlier Global Cafe, the IFA heard about reimagining dementia, and a person that had the diagnosis said, "I am not the diagnosis. I am a person." And I think sometimes we try and make things simple, and human beings are fragile and complex, and we are one and we are different. So thank you very much. I want to now turn to Elijah. Elijah, we have a question from Kapaku Sam. What help can we get for older people in developing countries like Liberia, where we are working with older people without any external support? In your experience, you know, what lessons can you share?
Thank you, and I'm happy to answer this, that even Carica itself does not all the time receive support from external partners, but you know already older people are suffering. It's a matter of how do you approach them and how do you talk to them? They know answers for their problems, and all they want is power to question the government and push the government to enact protective measures. Why I say this is because in our country, what we have done as Carica, one, we partner with other like-minded organizations. We also reach people in the offices. We produce short messages, which can be done in Liberia. And I know my colleague Esther is there. And three, there is need for other organizations which are able to reach those Liberians to come on board. I would appeal to all those big organizations like Helpage International and others. If possible, let us reach the unreached, because our voice must come from those grassroots. From Carica experience, we bring the older people, we develop messages, and they come and discuss within themselves. And then we in the office, we make a message from the discussions of older persons. That is what we deliver to the government. And I'm proud to say the Kenya government have really worked hard, though not yet, because even just 2 weeks ago, they were able to deliver the country position paper, not because we have funds, but we frontier a lot. Hope I answer you right, Trey.
Oh, look, I think that you've really captured the essence, Elijah. But what really struck me is, you know, you're mentioning the way that we talk with people. You know, that lost craft, that art of respecting one another, you know, working with government, helping them to understand the narrative around rights of older persons, which may be culturally not within their framework. So I think that you have really captured the essence, and Kapaku has already thanked you. I also want to mention that there's a lot of information in the chat box. There's resources, there's a request for consultation, so please check the chat box. I'm now going to turn to Agida. Agida, there is a question from Lydia about how do we ensure shock-proof future for older people. And she talks about being vulnerable and the challenges, you know, from a socioeconomic perspective. You know, what are your perspectives? What are the challenges that you experience, you know, in protecting you and other people's rights towards a convention? Could you comment on that?
Y bueno, muchas gracias por esa pregunta, es genial, porque si bien tenemos la convención y estamos protegidos y tenemos las leyes, no tenemos las acciones. Las leyes están en las letras, pero falta la acción de los cuidados. En estos 2 años, como yo decía hoy, realmente hemos tenido un un retroceso en nuestros derechos. Entonces, lo que tenemos que hacer es que los gobiernos, nosotros hasta el 19 y fuimos reconocidos por la OEA en trabajo en conjunto con el Estado. En estos momentos, el gobierno no entiende trabajar para las personas mayores y hemos tenido una desprotección total de personas que están en residenciales, de personas que están en la pobreza, personas mayores, pero no tenemos que ser escuchados solo por las personas mayores. Es un tema de toda la sociedad, como decía este compañero que hablaba sobre el LGTBI, que también tenemos que trabajar en conjunto, porque no puede ser que haya personas adultas mayores que no tengan un apoyo en el trabajo. Muchas gracias y creo que lo que tenemos que hacer las mismas personas mayores, sensibilizar a la población y hablar. Yo estoy haciendo esto desde que tengo 82 años y hace 30 años que trabajo con este tema. Y si no nos metemos nosotros en la conciencia de que somos personas que debemos ser escuchados, no respetan nuestros derechos. Lo peor que nos puede pasar también es que como ahora está el COVID, es lo único que se atiende. Y una atención integral, los mayores quedan para atrás. Los niños de 0 a 3 años es lo más importante para nuestro gobierno. Gracias.
And thank you very much. And in the chat box, Akita, I have to say that someone has said, your strength is admirable. So, you know, you have inspired many already around the world. I've got 2 more questions that I want to pose to the group. One to Claudia, and that will be the last question, but I want to pose a question to Grace. Grace, this question is from Sandra Timmerman. How do we involve older people in working for a convention? What should our message be to them?
I think very practically, older people need to know why a convention matters, how a convention is actually going to improve people's lives. Otherwise, it just seems to be a document. Talking, for instance, for older people in Asia, the United Nations is so far away, Geneva, New York, and having a convention just seems like something that is so theoretical and abstract. I think we need to make the convention real and how it's really going to make a difference in people's lives. And activists are the ones who are going to help bridge that gap.
Okay, and thank you. Because what we're really doing is we're not only fighting for the current generations of older people, but we're fighting for future generations of older people. So this is really a life course, you know, that we're really fighting for. So, Claudia, this is the $1 million question for you. And it's a question that many of us have asked. You know, many of us have been going to the UN for 12 years. And I've even heard 1 or 2 say, won't happen in my lifetime, I'll be dead before it comes. So just simply, what's the obstacle? If we've got all the evidence and we're convinced and member states are convinced, what's the obstacle? And I think it's a valid question that has been posed.
Thank you, Jane. And it's really the $100 million question. But may I also add something to why it matters that older persons are included? Because I think they are the experts, and it would be wonderful if we get more practical information from the Inter-American system, how the Inter-American Convention improved the situation on the national level. And this would be something which would not only be useful for older persons, but also for states to see that guidance is an added value and not only an obstacle for them. But coming back to the obstacles, why we don't have a convention yet, I think one thing is, and this has nothing to do with older persons, that many states just don't want another UN human rights binding convention because of the monitoring process, because of the difficulties they have on the national level. They just don't want another human rights convention. This has nothing to do with the topic. The other obstacle is that we are still missing a kind of leadership. As it was said, if there would be a drafting group, we need a core group who's responsible for the leadership in this regard. And this kind of political will is still missing. And this is why I always say, and I know everybody heard it already a couple of times, you need to have the conversation on the national level to let your governments know that there's pressure coming from older persons and different generations, because as you already said, it is an investment in all our future, that we want to have better protection for older persons. So I once again urge you that we need to have these conversations on the national level to let the governments know that there is a need. Remember how CRPD was convened in the end. There were rallies around the world with much more drastically ideas than we hear here today. But this is something where the government saw that there is pressure coming. And they did not want to be blamed that they are not interested in persons with disabilities. And let us, just tell them there is pressure from the ground. Older persons really want their protection. They are speaking up. They want to see progress. And I think this is one of the obstacles. Political will is still missing.
Okay. And on that note, we thank you very much. You and I have been part of the first Global Rally Summit, Age with Rights. And I have been inspired not only by our speakers today who represent and work with older people for and on behalf of the protection of their rights. We have been joined by hundreds of people around the world, and keeping in mind that there are probably hundreds of activities that have been going on as we have been talking today. The recording of this important event will be on the IFA website, but I'm sure it will be on the Garrett website as well, and you will receive a copy of this recording. This rally summit has come together not overnight. It's been months in the planning, and I do want to thank the leadership of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Older People, its chair, Kiran Rabaru, Alan Graham, and your team all around the world that has brought this here today. I also want to acknowledge Soroptimists, for its support in this rally summit, but also going forward. And of course, I cannot close the meeting without thanking the amazing team at the International Federation on Aging, Berenice Anaya, and also Rashmi Gupta. So this is but one step. And before I close, I just would like to just pause and acknowledge the many hundreds of thousands of people in Ukraine and also in Russia that are standing up for the rights of all people, including those who are older. But also let us not forget the many millions of older people today that have not yet been vaccinated in many countries of the world, and their rights also need to be protected and respected. So let us join together in solidarity, Age with Rights, going forward to the development of a convention on the rights of older people. Thank you very much for your attention and being part of this inaugural event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elijah. Good to see you.
Bye. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you, Claudia.